Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning.
Hey everybody, it's great to be here. Ezra Levant is my name. It's May 3rd. Can you believe it's already May? We're live streaming. We do this every day at 12 noon. I sit in this chair Monday, Wednesday, Friday. My colleagues Sheila Gunn Reid and David Menzies do it Tuesday, Thursday. I like to talk about the breaking news, the news of the day. Informally, every night at 8 p.m. I have a formal show, TV-style show called The Ezra Levant Show. That's behind a paywall. This is the free noontime entertainment and information. But we have a little wrinkle today. As you know, YouTube, without notice, excuse, explanation, or appeal, demonetized us fully. About a month ago, they cut off our super chats, costing us about $400,000 a year. And then a couple weeks later, they gave us a strike, an absurd strike for a video I myself made called If Big Tech Can Censor Donald Trump, They Can Censor Anyone. I think they sort of proved my point. So they suspended our channel for a week. Now they've let us back in with limited privileges. So I have come to the sad conclusion that YouTube will destroy us, whether it's days, weeks, even today, who knows. But in the meantime, we're still going to use YouTube because we have 1.45 million subscribers, and we certainly don't want to abandon them. As you can see, we have a Streamlabs tip function there instead of the super chat, which we once had access to. And as you know, over the last few weeks, we've been trying new platforms because YouTube will kill us, whether it's in a month or 2 months or 2 days. So let me just give you a little comparison. At this moment, I've been talking for about a minute, we have 528 people on YouTube. It's great to see you. We have 33 people watching on Odyssey.com, O-D-Y-S-E-E. Do you want to show these just for fun? Because each of these platforms has a bit of a different look and feel to them. Odyssey looks a little bit like YouTube. They have thanks very much. So they've got a chat function, as you can see on the right-hand side there, and they have a tipping function they called hyper chats. Now the wrinkle is that they tip using a cryptocurrency called Library, LBRY. So that's sort of fun if you like the crypto stuff. So we got 34 people there. Rumble is very exciting because they're so big and they're conservative leaning. Right now on Rumble, there's over 700 people following us on Rumble. Now they don't have all the functionality yet. They don't have the chat functionality on Rumble yet, do they? No, not yet. We understand it's coming, and there may be a tip functionality that comes too. But today we're trying out, so we're streaming on those three platforms, but we are trying a fourth platform, a Canadian-built, Canadian-engineered platform, built with a free speech architecture in mind. By that I mean, what is the challenge for creators left, right, and center? It's, can you avoid cancel culture? Can you avoid the whimsical, opaque censorship from Silicon Valley? And that is one of the premises of superu.net, S-U-P-E-R, and then the letter U.net. Can you go to the SuperU chat? Now, right now, we only have 17 viewers. This is the very first time we've ever been on SuperU. We're trying it out. As you can see, it's got an interesting user interface. We got 14 viewers. They got playlists, watch later, live, trending, following, home. I haven't played around with it enough, but some of our tech team here is, and today they just launched SuperU a few days ago. So it's certainly not as big as YouTube. It's not as big as Rumble, which is growing quickly. Odyssey is still not widely adopted for political chats like this, and SuperU is pretty much brand new. It has a live chat feature. Is that what they call SuperU Shouts?
No, it's a chat.
Oh, that's right. You know what? And I should know this because I'm... Okay, you can't show it on your screen, but there is a chat function. I see that here. Eglom123 saying hello. There you go. You figured it out. SuperU Shout. You're ahead of me. You know what? I got to sit down and immerse myself into it. But I've been given the heads up about SuperU for a couple months now. We actually had the pleasure of sitting down with their team, including their tech team. When sitting down, I mean via Zoom or whatever. In fact, if you look right up at the top left-hand corner of the screen, you want to put it back up there, Super U, and what's their tagline? Free speech channel. You can't show that? Got it. You have because you can't show because we have sensitive information on your screen. I won't even ask what that is, but I believe I believe you. Perhaps it's passwords, or it's this. Got it. It's the stream links, and we don't want people to steal our stream. Got it. Well, we got 121 viewers there already. I won't talk anymore about the platforms, but. Today, but I just wanted to tell you what we're doing. And now I'm going to get to the news of the day. But it is exciting that there is a new platform specifically calling itself a free speech channel. I am somewhat familiar with the tech behind it. Obviously, I'm a layman, so I'm not an expert in those things. But it has been built to resist the kind of meddling and censorship. And even the contract that we signed, I feel like the whole thing is a project for freedom. And I like the look and feel of it. I like the thinking of it. So let's just so we're going to be streaming every day on all 4 platforms. Right now we've got 202 people on Super U. That's pretty cool. And I'm not going to talk about it any more other than just a quick count of how many are watching. So we've got 1,025 on Rumble. That's pretty cool. We've got 50 on Odyssey. I got a soft spot for Odyssey because I just think the crypto's really cool. And we have 870 on YouTube. Do you see one of my points I'm making? If YouTube kicks us off, which I hope they don't, and I think is immoral and illegal if they do, we will survive. In fact, it's so obvious to me that if we really do have 1.45 million subscribers on our YouTube channel, and yet it has fewer viewers than our Rumble channel, which is like 25,000 views. Obviously, YouTube is throttling our traffic. And I wasn't even really alive to that until they forced us to go elsewhere. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about structures and streaming and video because that's of some interest to all of us, but that's not the news itself. There's a lot of news, and this weekend we had rebel journalists in Montreal covering an enormous protest there. I've seen reports of 50,000. I've even seen reports of 100,000 people. And I've seen some of the airborne footage from helicopters. It does genuinely look that huge. Clearly the largest in Canada since the pandemic started. Here's some from a street view. Montreal's got its different style, right? It's got a bit of a different vibe to it. Ha! Do you want to throw the volume up just for a bit?
With a face mask on it. What's the story?
It's all about bullshit. For a year we've had bullshit, so this is as good as a curfew. This is for COVID-19, and this is for the variant.
What kind of reaction are you getting to your headwear, sir?
People are happy. They're just happy. They understand about the bullshit of all this. Yeah.
You see the people there at the commerce? Go do the march and go do it backward. Go ask every commerce, every patriots here. They stop at the commerce. They buy beer, they buy some snacks, they buy some foods. We're here for liberty, we're here for freedom, we're here to leave our fucking Quebecers right. The one thing now all of our government wants to do is to tax us with climate change, tax us with everything. But what is the fucking deal of taxing people when people are here suffering, people losing their job, people putting in lockdown? Wow, we need to step up. We're all here to stand up. We're in the fucking Olympic Stadium. We're here for freedom. Vive le Québec libre.
Thank you. Folks, I interrupt this video for a very urgent message.
You know, did you see that shot, that long view of the street? It was a huge, huge, huge rally. So, as you can see, our friend David was there, along with a couple of other teammates. They did a great job. As usual, we covered the lockdown protests here in Toronto, Canada's biggest city, and the city of our headquarters. We also had a journalist in Hamilton, Ontario, covering the protests there. We had a journalist, our newest journalist, Adam Sos, was in Calgary, where Pastor Artur Pawlowski had his church. I was pretty sure he was going to be arrested. Do we have even my Twitter clip or Adam's? Yeah, it's Adam's Twitter clip. Sorry, it's not mine, it's his. Here, let's take a look at that.
They hate your way of life and they want to take it away from you. That's why they're here. They're not here for freedom. They hate freedom. They hate everything that is just and holy. That's why they're here. But we're not going to give more attention to the hyenas. We eat hyenas for breakfast. We are a pack of lions. And lions never bow before the hyenas. We shall not be moved. We will not bow. We will push. The harder they push, the harder we will push. Until one day, we shall get back our rights. We shall be free again.
You know what? I love how he talks about lions versus hyenas. He's a very charismatic man. But let's be candid, he's in a lot of trouble too. I don't know if you saw the news report that Adam Soos did last week. It's actually incredible. I mean, what I'm about to say should be a front page scandal in this country, but it's regrettably not even in the papers at all. And if it is, it's buried on page 72, as if there's newspapers with 72 pages anymore. As you know, Artur was actually client number one of our Fight the Fines project, and I checked with our staff lawyer today, Victoria, who says we now have approximately 1,100 cases. 1,100. Artur was the first. Now we beat that case. They since gave him more tickets, so we're defending him on those. And now they're coming at him hard. They want to shut his whole church down, expropriate it, and presumably occupy it like they did to the Grace Life Church in Edmonton. So the difference is that as opposed to a year ago when we took Arthur's first case, he's lawyered up now. Our lawyer, one of our lawyers in Calgary, Sarah Miller's on the case. So she's been dealing with the cops and the prosecutors, and I don't know everyone she's been dealing with, but enough to win that first case. Actually got the Crown to drop the case. There's more. So Sarah's very busy. Keeping Artur out of the soup is it's almost a full-time job. I jest, but you can see he's not one to bend the knee. So the government, we told you this the other day, went to get an ex parte order against him, so they did not invite Artur or his lawyer to come to court. They had a secret hearing without Artur there, with secret evidence that Artur could not see, and this order was issued in secret until it was delivered to him. Why did they cut out Arthur's lawyer, Sarah Miller? That's extremely unusual. As we talked about last week, there are cases where you have an ex parte order where it's an emergency, and for reasons, for good reasons, you can't let the other side know. But there is no good reason to go after Artur in a secret way, especially when they know he has a strong, responsible, like not a wackadoodle lawyer, like a really serious lawyer. So I thought they were going to arrest him, handcuff him, occupy the church on the weekend. It did not come. But that day will come. And if you want to help us help Artur, I don't know how many tickets he's got now. I think it's more than a dozen. I think I saw him hold up a sheaf on TV once of like 20. So there's a lot of legal work there. And I spoke to his firm on Friday afternoon. And it's just an enormous, enormous undertaking. I frankly told them to put a second lawyer on the file. There's so much work to do. So that's at savearthur.com if you haven't helped. All right, well, let's look at that. Oh my gosh, we've got 833 viewers on superu.net. Do you see that? That is very cool. And I can see that there's, the shouts. That's what those are called, right? Like the chats, do they call those shouts? Super U shouts. So there you go. That's exciting. So, forgive me, and I know no one else is as interested in this as I am, but 839 folks on Super U, 68 people on Odyssey, 1,359 on Rumble, And on the censorship channel, YouTube, we still have a respectable 1,250. You add that all up and you're cooking with gas. But what's exciting to me is so many people are trying out this new channel. And look at it. You see in the top left there, Super U, and the symbol is I think it's a microphone, and it says Free Speech Channel. So while you're on the site, let me invite you to poke around. We like those guys at Super U. They're really new. Of the 4 platforms we're on, they are the newest. They really just, rolled this baby off the dealer's lot, so to speak, in the past week. So check it out, and I'm sure they're still tweaking things and whatnot, and more functionality to come. But I really liked what I saw when they gave us a demo, and I felt very respected in terms of our artistic independence, our creative independence, independent creators, whatever. As compared to YouTube, that's just all about rules and censorship. And obviously Odyssey and Rumble are freedom oriented too. Love those guys also. But I'm really excited about Super U. I mean, Free Speech Channel, it's right there in the name. Okay, 927. Oh my gosh, that's cooking. I think people are cooking on Super U. Don't you think that is very quick take up? That's very respectful on a new platform. Justin just tells me for a long time we got less than that on YouTube itself. Again, this goes to my thesis that YouTube was actually throttling us the whole time, and I never was alert enough to know. It's like a guy walking around with a piece of spinach on his teeth, or like a piece of toilet paper stuck to his shoe. You don't know, and you don't even know what you don't know. I think YouTube was throttling us the whole time. And why do I say that? Because if day one on a new platform with no indigenous membership, no pre-existing membership already, or not a lot, like it's a week old, to have nearly 986, that's just incredible. Yeah. You know what? So we're still figuring out our successor to Super Chats, which is what YouTube called them. We have that link. We call them Rebel Chats. We put that in the chat box of a few of these platforms. Anyways, so feel free to send your comments there, and Justin will send them to me. All right. So we talked about the Montreal protests. We had people in other cities too. I want to tell you that while Montreal had one of the largest and most interesting anti-lockdown protests, and we're very new to the province of Quebec because we all speak English. No one on our team is really fluent in French that I know of. And culturally, there's a divide, obviously. Linguistically, there's a divide. If you're both watching different TV programs, radio programs, movies, reading different newspapers, you're going to be apart. You're going to be apart from each other. That's been a characteristic of Canada since the Battle of the Plains of Abraham and before that. But the speed with which ordinary Quebecers have embraced Rebel News is so encouraging. I was talking to David Menzies this morning. He says that he estimates he had 200 different people ask him for a selfie. Now, I ascribe that to his raw charisma and his sexual energy that he just radiates. I mean, women love him, guys want to be with him, be near him. What's that phrase? Guys want to be him. Men want to be him, women want to be with. I don't want to get that wrong. You don't want to mess that one up. That's right. Oh, Justin says like any guy on a unicycle. Oh, that hits close to home. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, because Montreal and Quebec, that's the home of Cirque du Soleil. So there are probably more unicycle riders per capita in Montreal than almost anywhere else in the world. You keep them away from me. You keep them away from me. Hold me back, somebody. Somebody hold me back. I'm kidding. We, if there was someone who came to our office with a unicycle, I don't think I'd let them in, but I would have a polite conversation with them at the door. Yeah, we let vegetarians in all the time. Yeah, very tolerant. So we got 1,383 people on the Rumble channel right now. We've got 1,264 on the YouTube censorship platform. An incredible 1,174 on the anti-censorship platform of Super U. Look at that. 1174. I'm very excited about that. And Odyssey, love those guys. 72 folks watching. Someone typed in, I can't find Super U. Got it. It's SUPER and then the letter U.net. My view is let people find us in different ways, redundancies, as they would say in the tech world, but I obviously really like if you are a video platform and free speech channel is in your name, or it's your motto, that's like how the internet was 15 years ago. Okay, it's 12:20. Let's get back on the news of the day. I showed you a little bit from Montreal. You got to watch that whole video. It's great. And we showed you Arthur's speech from Calgary on the weekend. I think the most unique protest, and the largest was in Montreal, the most unique protest was in the town of Bowden, Alberta, which is not far away from Red Deer. There's a refinery there. I don't know if it's still open. There's a prison there. I like Bowden. It's a small place. They had a rodeo. Now, they have rodeos a lot in central Alberta. But, of course, this is the time of the pandemic. Now, the thing is, every study you'll look at shows that the pandemic does not transmit outdoors. It's not airborne. It's in aerosolized parts. So if you sneeze or cough, but it's not like it's in the air. It's just in aerosol droplets, as they say. I don't mean to get gross, but it's a sneeze. Or if you go, ah, but it's not an outdoors thing. And I can't think of anything healthier than an outdoors rodeo. Sunshine, fresh air, like it is. In fact, I'd have to check my CDC, World Health Organization studies. But I think that in the entire history of this entire pandemic, there's only been 5 recorded outbreaks that related to an outdoor event. 5 out of the millions of people. Like, it's just not, I'm not going to say it's 0 because there's always some unicorn, but it is the healthiest thing you can do. And of course, a cowboy by nature, I don't know if you know any cowboys. I've had the pleasure of knowing some. I grew up in Calgary, west of the city. Cowboys are about the best people you will ever meet. They are the most independent, the most self-sufficient, taciturn a bit. They love animals. They love the land. In sync with the seasons, strong. I've never heard of a cowboy on welfare. That's just opposite, right? Never heard of a cowboy. It's just, if you had to have one friend in the world, let it be a cowboy. And I used to have a few books called Cowboy Wisdom and Cowboy Poetry. Maybe they're in storage. I'll have to dig them out. There's nothing more fun than cowboy poetry. And little cowboy sayings. So these are the best people in the world, in the best place in the world, doing the best thing in the world. A rodeo. But not just any rodeo, it's an anti-lockdown rodeo. Now, what does that mean? That means they're just doing it without waiting for permission from Dr. Theresa Tam of the United Nations World Health Organization says don't have a rodeo. Yeah, I'm sure she does. And the public health officials from the city of Edmonton have some advice for cowboys out in Bowden. And that advice is stay home and watch Netflix and go to Walmart and order things on Amazon. And stay afraid. Can you imagine a cowboy wearing a mask? It's unthinkable. I got a dog, as you may know. And I walk the dog, or the dog walks me, let's say 3 times a day. And I marvel at who's wearing a mask and who doesn't. You're all alone for hundreds of feet around you. It's just you and your dog. You got a mask. Are you worried the dog's going to get you the Rona? People in their cars by themselves with a mask. What's that about? I see some memes online. Maybe you can find some guy overheard in Washington D.C. and I'm sure it's true, although it could be an apocryphal story. I got vaccinated, but I still wear my mask because I don't want people to think I'm a Republican. Did you see that? Yeah. And think about it. Think about it. And that is spot on. Because it was never really about the Rona. Okay. Look at that, 1,308 people on the Super U platform. 1,316, just amazing. Can you believe that? It's a new platform launched in the last week. 1,316 people, and the subheadline there is Free Speech Channel. And compare that to the censorship channel of YouTube. 1,346 on the censorship channel of YouTube, and 1,317, it's just behind it. That tells me all I need to know. We were throttled. Okay, let's get back to the news. So the rodeo. I've seen reports anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 people at this rodeo. Have you ever been to a rodeo? I grew up west of Calgary, so like I said, for example, I went to Boy Scouts, and where we was on the Copperthorne Ranch. That was where we met, because you had all the buildings and whatever, and you went camping, and it was probably on some guy's ranch property. It's great. It's a great place to grow up. And so you got cowboys. But you know that old child's game called Cowboys and Indians? I don't even know if you're allowed to say that anymore. Cowboys and Indians. I'm going to play Cowboys and Indians. But actually, what you learn if you are at a rodeo, pretty much anywhere in Alberta, or BC, or Saskatchewan, I don't know about Manitoba, is that the Indians are cowboys. And a lot of the folks at the rodeo are First Nations. Why wouldn't they like rodeo too? It's super fun. In fact, the Calgary Stampede, greatest outdoor show in the world, has had a strong Aboriginal theme for decades, probably since the beginning. They have what they call the Indian Village. They have the Miss Stampede and then the Miss First Nation Stampede or whatever. I got to check to make sure that hasn't been canceled in the last 24 hours from the wokeness. So it's a fact that rodeos and cowboys and Indians are a great, harmonious community thing. And I remember that again growing up west of Calgary. Dave Jacobs and his team. So in other words, you got self-sufficient people, self-respecting people, love nature, love natural things, understand life and death, actually know Aboriginal folks, work with them, play with them, rodeo with them. So by every measure, I would trust a cowboy over some public health deep state bureaucrat. So this is the rodeo that they had near Bowden, Alberta. They had an anti-lockdown rodeo, and that's just what rodeos look like. I don't think there was anything particularly lockdown-ish about it, other than they just had it. Now, I was not there. Yeah, throw up any more B-roll. I mean, even if we have unedited B-roll, I just want to see more. Yeah. So, outdoors, fresh air. How much fun would that have been, eh? No. Stay home. Watch the new Netflix series. Who's that? That looks like is that a lawyer? Is that, he looks familiar. I think that might be a lawyer named James Kitchen, I'm not sure. Or maybe he just looks like it. If a guy's wearing a suit at the rodeo, you just might be a lawyer if. You just might, you know that redneck, you know what's it, Jeff Foxworthy, is that his name? You might be a redneck if, he had, if you're this, you might be a redneck. If you're wearing a suit to a rodeo, you just might be a lawyer. Even I know better than that. No, I'm kidding around, but because these days even cowboys need lawyers to fight against these wicked lockdown commandments issued from, at best, deep in the bowels capital in Edmonton, but more likely deep in the bowels of the United Nations, World Health Organization, which is controlled by China. And that's not some speculation or conspiracy theory. The head of Dr. Tedros Adhanom, the head of the World Health Organization, was installed by China. I mean, China leads 4 UN agencies and controls a 5th, more than any other country. All right, let's just look at these chats or comments coming through. I'm just going to pick a few. David says, Super U looks good, great video quality. Mr. G. Rich, what's happening, Rebel News? Great to see you here at Super U. Well, it's great to be here. 1,399 folks on Super U. That is a strong debut. That is the strongest debut we have had. I know. We got 1,433 at YouTube right now, and we got 78 on Odyssey. So that's just great. Okay, so anyway, so there's a great rodeo, and there were food trucks there, and I wasn't there myself, but Sheila Gunn Reid was there, and a lot of folks from Central Alberta were there. I mean, it was a big deal. And rodeos are open all across America. You know, there's rodeos all across all the way down to Texas. And Canadian rodeo talent, it's not just a fun hobby, it's a sport, and there are professional rodeo cowboys. You can actually sort of make a living at it. I mean, and of course, at the very high end, you can absolutely make a living at it. You know, it's just like in professional sports, there's sort of a time limit to it, because it depends on what sport you're in. You're getting bucked off a bull. You don't want to be doing that when you're in your 40s. That's a young man's sport. So, you know, I don't know what the oldest bull rider is. My guess is he's not far north of 30. And there are some injuries. And that's another point, as Sheila mentioned. I saw Sheila, do we have a video? Did she do a little promo vid? Can you go to Sheila's Twitter feed? I thought I heard her talk to someone about how, I think she was talking to a rodeo mom. You know, there's like soccer moms and hockey moms and dance moms. I think she was talking about motorbikes. That's what it was. But it's similar sort of thing, outdoors, a little bit Western, a little bit free-oriented. And the mom said, and Sheila made the point, you know, you're measuring risks, you're making thoughtful decisions about risks all the time. These are probably people who can calculate their own risk-reward ratio. You know what I'm talking? It was, I'd say about 3-4 days ago. That's the one. Yeah, she tweeted it. So if you can go to Sheila, and then Sheila on Twitter, and then click media. And it was just, sorry, in my mind for a second, I conflated it with the rodeo. But there is a similar, you know, freedom orientation and, you know, the woke, oh my God, you're riding a motorcycle? Now they all do wear helmets, but, well, you have to wear bubble wrap, and can it be an e-bike? And is that a solar-powered Prius motorbike? And, you know, can you limit the speed on that to 10 kilometers an hour? And, you know, it's not just the gathering these people hate, it's the rodeo themselves. I'm going to get to that backlash in just a moment, but I do want to show you if we can find it. Okay, you know what, Justin's still looking through it, so maybe we'll skip that. If we find it later, we can call it up. But I want to get to the reaction to the rodeo. But before I do, rodeo is a sport. There's rodeo competitions, there's champions, there's, I don't know, league is the wrong word. There's a circuit, I'm going to use that word. It's an industry. You got rodeo families, you know. Of course, you got the Calgary Stampede that's like the anchor for the whole thing. There are no gazillionaires in rodeo. I mean, if you're at the very, very top of the craft, you can make a living out of it. But you're not going to have like a LeBron James making, you know, 8 figures a year in rodeo. You're not going to have a Wayne Gretzky making 7-8 figures a year. I don't know if he was making that much. You're not going to have people with $100 million contracts in rodeo. You don't have big owners in a big league, like in the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball. You've got owners who are typically billionaires because the value of that sports franchise is so high that even the crummiest team is probably worth $1 billion or more. In the UK, they have football leagues. That's what they call soccer. They're billion pound clubs. So here you got rodeo, not a lot of millionaires, a lot of thousandaires. You don't have big owners in the same sense you do with these big leagues. And I note that the leagues owned by billionaires, where the athletes are millionaires, I note that they all have exemptions in Canada and, of course, in the United States. I note that in most parts of Canada, perhaps everywhere, children's hockey leagues have been shut down. No kids are allowed to play hockey. But I note that the NHL is, including in Alberta. In fact, when I went to Alberta a couple of months ago, I was staying at a nice hotel at Sutton Place. I stayed there because it was very, very close to where I was going. And that was, their restaurant had a special exemption for hockey teams. No one else could go there except NHL players and the NHL affiliated people. So it was like during the old Soviet Union, where you had everyone waiting in endless bread lines or toilet paper lines or lines to buy it. But then you had certain stores open only to senior party members. As Animal Farm said, all animals are equal. Some animals are more equal than others. No, I might call for later. So I'm going to show you the reaction by no one less than the Premier of Alberta, Jason Kenney. And as I read these to you, he's talking about the rodeo in Bowden, Alberta. But I want you to think of the fact that in Alberta, the NHL millionaires playing for NHL billionaires don't just have his moral approval, they have a legal exemption from the lockdown, not just to play and practice, but even for their restaurant dining. Because unlike you, they don't have to stay home and order in fast food. So let's go through his, so pump it up. It is disturbing to see large numbers of people gathering this weekend at Bowden in flagrant violation of COVID-19 public health measures. Okay, stop right there. But like I say, you don't catch the flu outdoors. You just don't get Rona outdoors. Show me the science that says you do. We are all sick of this. We all want it to end. Thousands of Albertans are following the rules, sacrificing travel and social gatherings to do their part to stop the spread of COVID-19. Stop right there. It's not true that we're all sick of this, are we? The media party loves it. It's a scandal and a crisis. The political class loves it. It's an emergency. We must spend more and regulate more. The public health deep state, all of a sudden you got this new crop of celebrities. Theresa Tam, Bonnie Henry, Dina Hinshaw. In every province there's a new celebrity superstar. Typically makes very high six-figure. I've seen public health officers in this country come close to $500,000 a year. They're not sick of it. They don't want it to end. And by the way, sacrificing travel, I'm not sure if I'm going to take that lesson. From the Premier of a government, half of whose caucus was caught sneaking out of Alberta over Christmas to go to Hawaii or Vegas or whatever. Okay, let's go through the rest of his tweets. I just want to go through all of them. Not only are gatherings like this a threat to public health, no, they're not. An outdoor rodeo proved to me that there's been a single outbreak anywhere from a rodeo. They're a slap in the face to everybody who's observing the rules to keep themselves and their fellow Albertans safe. Does that include a slap in the face to those NHL players? On a personal note, I'm angered and saddened. Does Jason Kenney actually talk that way? On a personal note, I'm angered and saddened to see so many people selfish. Is there anyone less selfish than a cowboy? Have you ever met a cowboy? Like a real cowboy? You know what? When I lived in Alberta and I lived west of the city, I didn't know how lucky I was. I mean, you grow up where you grow up. You don't know. You know, it's like you think your house is normal because your house is all you know. So you're out in the country, you go to Boy Scouts on a ranch, you meet you go to school, there's people who ranch. You assume that's normal to know people like that. I didn't realize how unique that was. And frankly, contact with ordinary grassroots Indians, because we were near the Indian Reserve. And again, don't go, oh, that's not Indians, it's indigenous people. You know what? Every Indian I know uses the word Indian. They use the word First Nations too. But if you look at the law, it's called the Indian Act. I won't go down that road right now, but I'm just saying, how lucky was I to grow up amongst cowboys and Indians, and cowboy Indians. The cowboys and the Indians I went to Springbank Junior High, and I went briefly to Elbow Valley Junior High School. This was west of Calgary. The cowboys and the Indians were friends. They had things in common. I'm going to tell you, you're going to laugh at me. One of the things they had in common, and I didn't know what this was. Like, I grew up in a middle-class house. My dad was a doctor. We were sort of living west of the city, but we were sort of oriented towards the city. You're in grade 7, grade 8, and you notice all the kids have a circle like this in their back pocket of their jeans, and it's worn out, like it's, you know, if you have a wallet in your jeans and it sort of gets a little bleached. So every single kid had this little disc. You know what that is, right? Chewing tobacco. Both the cowboys and the Indians. And I'm 12 years old in grade 7, 13 in grade 8, whatever I was. And all these kids had chewing tobacco. Again, not all the kids, certainly not a, you know, soft hands city boy like me. But again, that was a commonality between the cowboys and the Indians. They loved tobacco, and of course they let me try some. Oh boy, does that, have you ever had chewing tobacco? Does that throw you for a loop? Because it goes straight in the capillaries of your lip. Now, if you don't have a pouch, half the work is keeping it balled up so it doesn't spread on it. It's like tea leaves. You know, we have tea bags. But some fancy people just put the tea leaves in like something. Well, that's tobacco. So if you don't have it in a pouch, that stuff's going to get all over your. It's a skill, and they'd be going in class like this. And of course, you got to spit. That's quite something for a city boy like me to get to know. It's a little anecdote from my life 30 years ago. Let's go back to Jason Kenney's tweets, if you don't mind. On a personal note, I'm angered and saddened to see so many people selfishly put themselves ahead of others. Rodeo celebrates Alberta's Western heritage, a key part of which is our community spirit and looking out for others, especially the vulnerable. So you're going to out cowboy the cowboys. You know rodeo better than those cowboys and Indians. And you're going to tell them a little bit about being selfish. I tell you, I have never met a selfish cowboy in my life. Now you'd say, Ezra, what cowboys do you know? I'm telling you, I spent 3 years in junior high in the country, Springbank Junior High, and a year and a half in grade 7 and 8. And then, sorry, I got that wrong. I was 7, 8, and 9, grade 7, 8, and 9, and I was there for grade 3 and grade 4. Go ahead. Yeah, the Skull ring, because Skull is the leading brand. I know that. Well, you know what? So Justin says Sheila's saying those are called Skull rings. Well, I know that now. But you know, you're a Jewish kid in the country school, 400 kids at Springbank Junior High. The only Jews were me and my sister. There were 2 black kids, Jason and Teresa Nike, and then 2 Chinese kids. I told you this story before. 400 kids. There were 2 Jews, 2 Chinese kids, 2 black kids, and then 394 regular kids. So, you know, and frankly, most of the Aboriginal kids stopped going to school by grade 8. In fact, did I tell you this? The last Indian kid in school, there was a bus that came from the reserve. The last Indian kid dropped out in grade 8. I thought it was very sad. Rhonda Powderface was her name. And there just was not encouraged. These kids, it just felt like they didn't have a lot of support. I don't think people were really mean to the Aboriginal kids. In fact, they were so tough, people were a little bit, maybe I'm just projecting myself, but they came on a bus, they seemed a little more grown up, and they all had skull rings. Yeah, I didn't know, now I know what that is. But when I'm a kid in school and everyone's chewing tobacco and I'm 12, it's a little new to me. But I'm saying, I've just never met a selfish cowboy. Now, I'm not saying they don't exist. Cowboys are human like all of us, and they have the same flaws and vices that we all do. Of course, there are selfish cowboys. There's selfish anything. But just, if you're speaking of cowboy as a career, as a mindset, as a vocation, of an activity, cowboying is an inherently unselfish expression of life. Of course there's selfish everythings, but just if you're going to try and demonize that rodeo as selfish, that dog don't bark. That's not a cowboy thing, but it should be. Okay, put the tweets back up. Let's keep going through them. That's the opposite of what these folks are doing. I say folks, so you know I'm for real. The reason we are at this critical stage of the pandemic in Alberta with record high daily case counts and intensive care numbers is precisely because too many Albertans are ignoring the rules we currently have in place. So you're blaming these cowboys for the disease? You're actually blaming them. And is that a scientific fact? Because these cowboys were in Bowden, and can you go to COVID Stats Alberta? Don't close that other page there because I want to come back to it. But the Alberta COVID website is usable enough. There is one graph that shows where the cases are from. So there you have an assertion of fact that these cowboys, you cowboys, are what's causing us to be sick. Go to active cases, that's the one. Yeah, and go to the graph. Down, scroll down. Scroll down. There's a multicolored graph. Scroll. Yeah, so, okay, there was another graph that showed it even better, but that's fine. No, that does the job. So where are the cases in the last week? Overwhelmingly in Calgary. There's some from Edmonton, that's the green one, right? Is that what that green one says? And then you got the north. So the blue is the central zone. So is it the Cowboys who done it? The Cowboys did this? Is that what these charts show? We don't need to find the other graph, but it shows it even more compellingly. Let's just finish up the tweets. Who wrote this? Who wrote these? Were these written in, I don't know. If we do not begin to bend the curve, our healthcare system could very well be overwhelmed in a matter of weeks. That's what I call an evergreen tweet. You can put that up every month. Hey guys, just a couple weeks. We got a couple weeks to flatten the curve. Hey guys, just lock down for a couple more weeks. Hey guys, no one likes this. Least of all me, guys. No one likes this. But just a couple more weeks, okay? And I mean it this time, baby. Come on, no. Baby, it's different this time. No. What? I know I've been saying the same thing to you for 14. Just give me a few more weeks, baby. Next tweet. I again implore Albertans to get vaccinated when it's your turn and to follow the rules in your area. To those of you already doing this, thank you. To those who aren't, please smarten up. Come on, guys, get smart. And nothing's smarter than, so triple mask. That's the new smart. The more people we have flouting the rules, the longer this pandemic will last. Is that a fact? So if you go outdoors, will that extend the pandemic? Is that a fact? Well, as you can see, I'm not persuaded. But others are. CTV was at the rodeo. I understand they didn't actually go in. They sort of hid in the ditch. Here's Kathy Lee from CTV. This photo was not taken pre-pandemic. It was taken today. Thousands of people attended a rodeo near Bowden. No social distancing, no masks. This as Alberta hit records for new daily cases, active cases, and positivity rate. Snitch. Somebody's a snitch. Did you see the other tweet of the guy who's, you know what, go to my feed if you would be so kind, my Twitter feed. And I have a diptych, as they say in the art world, which I think is spelled D-I-P-T-Y-C-H, of that tweet and another one of a guy calling the cops. Maybe I did it yesterday. Here we go, perfect. When CTV reporters show up, you really don't know if they're asking questions for the news or to pass their intel on to the police. Do not trust them. Click on the one on the right. We read the one on the left. So the one on the right says, so this is by Chris Epp of CTV. I've called RCMP and asked if tickets issued, but no word yet. This comes 2 days after Jason Kenney vowed harsher fines for public health rule breakers. This comes 3 days after 1,000 Calgarians were ticketed for parking outside vaccine clinic to get their shots. I estimate there are close to 2,000 people outside of Bowden today for the End the Lockdown Rodeo. Multiple health rules clearly being broken. You guys, I'm going to call the police. You guys. Like I say, when CTV shows up, are you here to do a news story or are you here as an informant for the police? Or are you conflating the two? I don't know what is worse, calling the cops on people or just admitting that you hate them. Can you go to my pinned tweet right now, if you please? So Post Media, which is the largest newspaper company in Canada, doesn't just own the big dailies, Calgary Sun, Calgary Herald, Edmonton Journal, Edmonton Sun, Vancouver Sun, Ottawa Citizen, National Post. Post Media publishes 30 newspapers across Alberta, including Fairview, Nanton, Pincher Creek, Meyerthorpe, etc., but they pocket $140,000 a week from Trudeau's bailout, so they hate Alberta. Like Trudeau, they think you're inbred yokels. Never forget that they hate you. So click on Rob Tikowski's tweet. Anti-lockdown rodeo is about as inbred yokel as it gets. Only thing missing from the poster was shoeless. Oh, yeah. Having said that, they called the government's bluff and backed down the RCMP. They won the day and opened the door for others to do the same. This only gets worse. Those inbred yokels, they're so gross. And click on the next image, if you please. So that guy is with Post Media, and I don't know if you can see, basically every small town newspaper in Alberta. Vermilion, Whitecourt, Devon, Drayton Valley, Pincher Creek, Nanton, Airdrie. It's just all Post Media. Go back to that guy. So what does he think of rural Alberta? Inbred yokels. You are inbred yokels. Inbred yokels. Well, that certainly persuaded me to listen to you. That's so gross. I hear that the impresario of that rodeo plans to have another rodeo on Canada Day, July 1st, which isn't as far away as it sounds. It's May 3rd already, so June 1st is just a month away, and July 1st is 60 days from now. I wonder what will happen to him. Are you really going to go to war against 2,000 cowboys? How are you going to do that? You're going to arrest them all? Better get some more police. See, the thing is, city folks, and it really is a city thing, they wear masks because, as that Democrat in Washington, D.C. said, I'm inoculated, but I still wear a mask because I don't want people to think I'm a Republican. Because there really is an ideological divide, isn't there? It's not really about a disease. I mean, if you're alone in your car, you don't really think you're going to get the disease from being alone in your car, do you? Who would you get it from? I remember a year ago when I was in Lake Louise, it was on the lake. There were folks in a canoe, in the middle of the lake with masks on. In a canoe. I didn't grab my phone to take a picture. In fact, I got the picture from behind. You couldn't see the mask. I couldn't believe it. I'm sorry, that's just, something's wrong with your head. But you've all gone into that delusion together. And so it's us versus them. It's a sign of moral superiority. That's why you have the double maskers. And then I swear to God, there are triple maskers out there, because if everyone else is a double masker, you've got to ratchet it up. Otherwise, how are you morally superior? It's just incredible. Sandra D just came here from YouTube. Hello all. Well, that's Sandra D over there at the Super U. So let's take a little count. We got 1,495 people watching on the YouTubes. And we got 1,425 watching on Super U, the free speech channel. I gotta say, that is a pretty incredible first day. How's everybody liking the platform? How is it? And you know what? People seem, I'm just scrolling through the chats there. There's some banter. I'll have to go in as a consumer, not a creator, and really poke my way around. And let me encourage you to do that. I am very pleased with the debut. That's amazing. I mean, I like Odyssey. I mean, how can you not like those guys? And, you know, you say the word crypto and everyone says, what was that? What was that? What was it crypto? But you can't argue with success. By the way, we have 1,600 people on Rumble right now too, so we love the Rumble guys, absolutely. All right, well, it's 12:56, and I don't want to open too much new up, but I had a few more tweets, I think, on this rodeo issue on my feed. So if you could go back to my feed just for a second on Twitter. And, you know, I think I mentioned this earlier, the PR firm called Edelman, it's a very large international firm, huge in America, huge all around the world. And they have a Canadian outfit, of course, and they do an annual trust survey. And I've done my show on this before. Do you trust journalists? And 52% say not only do they not trust them, because trust, like, is someone reliable? Is someone biased? That goes to trust. But being reliable, I mean, maybe someone's just not that good at their job. Being biased, well, maybe, you know, someone just can't get over their own ideas. They're reporting things through a filter. All right. But according to Edelman, 52% of Canadians think that journalists positively lie. You know the difference between lying and a mistake, right? One is a malevolent choice. The other is an accident, maybe negligence. Half of all Canadians think that journalists choose to tell them a falsehood for some collateral purpose. Think about how absolutely damning that is. And then you look at some of the tweets, like the ones I've just shown you. How could you ever trust CTV again? They're narcs. They're not coming to report the news. They're coming to turn you in. They just said so. That's the quiet part. You're not supposed to say that part out loud. Yeah, here's that. Yeah, look at that. Thanks. You found this. Evolving perceptions challenge Canadian news. This is from the Edelman study. Percent who agree in Canada. Journalists and reporters are purposely trying to mislead people by saying things they know are false or gross exaggerations. Okay, I was wrong. I got my 52 and my 49% mixed up. But it's the same number, right? 49% of Canadians say you're lying. And then how many say most news organizations are more concerned with supporting an ideology or political position than with informing the public? 52%. The media is not doing well at being objective and nonpartisan, 52%. So I mixed up my 52%, my 49%, but would you agree with me that it's essentially the same number? From now on, I'm just going to say half. That's the Edelman study. It's slightly worse in the United States, as you can see. Well, it's almost, you know what? It's almost 1 p.m. on the nose, so I think I'm going to wrap things up just because I don't want to start a new subject, but I think that rodeo business is, I mean, I've known Jason Kenney since I was in college. That's more than 20 years now. That's like 25 years I've known, quarter of a century. And the idea that a conservative leader would go on the attack against cowboys? What? Check your compass, mate. And would preside over a justice system that is prosecuting, jailing pastors, expropriating churches. This from the cabinet minister who set up the Office of Religious Freedom. Check your bearings. You're off course. You know, Ralph Klein referred to the dome of the legislature. He called it dome syndrome. Once you're under there, you think that's the center of the world. Where's the capital city in that show, Game of Thrones? King's Landing. King's Landing. You know, I haven't watched that series in a few years. I think it's over. They did such a good job of portraying that capital city as corrupt and luxurious and wasteful and full of intrigues and gossip and dramas and such a leech off of the rest of society. I know it's a work of science fiction fantasy, but you got to say they nailed the capital city mentality. That's what Ralph Klein called dome syndrome. Preston Manning in Ottawa used the phrase auto-washed. How else can you explain a conservative premier denouncing cowboys as selfish? Did Rachel Notley write that for you? Because she could have said that. But if she would have said that, everyone would have said, yup, she hates rural people, she hates cowboys. We knew that from her farm bill. Yup, we know that. But when you get a conservative to say that, indistinguishable from an NDPer, it's a double win for the left, because first of all, you're attacking conservatives and cowboys and whoever else. But if you're doing so from the voice of the conservative premier, you've discredited the conservative force in that province. When you have a conservative doing terrible things that the left would do, you achieve the left's goals, but you also undermine the brand of conservative. You undermine the reputation of conservatives. It's doubly shocking. Well, I want to wrap things up because it is 1:02. Justin, thanks for working on that end of things. Let me close by saying we have 1,440 folks on the YouTube censorship channel. We have, let me just call it up here, 1,514 on the Rumble channel. It's always great to be with those guys. 67 folks on the Odyssey channel. Thank you for your crypto. And the surprise hit of the day, superu.net, free speech channel, with well over 1,400 folks on our first stream. And from what I'm reading there in the chats, I haven't been paying a lot of attention, people are really pleased with the platform, and that makes me feel great. And Justin reminds me, that's almost double what we normally got on YouTube. Like, it's just so obvious that we were being throttled there now, and what a delight to be in a channel that actually has free speech right there in its model. Well, that's it for me for now. I got to go because I gotta record my show a little bit early today. I'm going to talk about World Press Freedom Day, what a joke that is, and we'll talk a little bit about C10. And I want to talk about, do the Conservative Party of Canada, which are an even greater disappointment than the United Conservative Party of Alberta, do they really support free speech? Let's ask the question and try and answer it tonight. So that's on my show at 8 p.m. If you're not a subscriber, please consider becoming a subscriber. Go to rebelnews.com and just click subscribe. It's $8 a month. You get access to a TV-style show every night from me, plus weekly shows from David Menzies, Sheila Gunn Reid, and Andrew Chapados, and the satisfaction of knowing that you're helping keep us strong. All right, that's it for today. Do you have a dog video? We do. I'll say goodbye now, folks. Here's a dog video curated by my friend Justin.
Right up here. Okay, here we go.
Loves it, eh? That's awesome.
Went up and down in about 20 times already.
Hey, I think if I did that a few times, I would.
Her face is hilarious.